Welcome back to For the Medicine. I am your host, Jordan. I have my dear friend Logan with me, and a very dear friend, a new friend, but it feels like a friend that I've known forever. We've known forever. Rich, thank you for joining us today.
Very grateful to be here with you,
Very
brothers.
Absolutely. Rich and I had met. I want to say July. We held we held space together. A really awesome experience. One experience that I won't forget. Rich is a sound healer. Divine sound healing.
We're with Divine Wave Sound Healing.
Divine Wave Sound Healing out here in South Florida. And Logan and I actually had the opportunity to go to one of Rich's events and just lay down and listen for 2 hours and absolutely get put in a trance. And it was so incredible. So Rich, we're really excited to have you here. It's truly an honor for you to be here. And first question I guess I would like to ask is, we've talked a lot in the space of, plant medicine. We're trying to build awareness around plant medicine and not new necessarily, Western new, but ancient practices through sound healing, through yoga, through meditation, ways to connect with your mind, body, spirit. And, one of my first questions for you was, how did you get into this space of awareness, of community, of love?
It's I've been seeking this like community since I was at a young age. I've been doing my thought experiments through time. Like, how did I get to where I am now? And, I've asked myself those questions as well. And I've been seeking it over and over again through different, groups of people, and I never really found anything like the community until I met the sound and the yoga and the plant medicine community, and they all kind of came to me through a trauma. So I broke my back surfing in the Outer Banks, and before that I wasn't practicing yoga, but I was very mindful and very conscious and seeking that. What are these yogis talking about, this Akashic record field, this great consciousness? And I was trying all these different modalities, and I couldn't tap into it. I didn't know what it was. And then so when I broke my back, I was healing. I was going to my acupuncturist, and she was helping me get my nerves back to my spine. And all of a sudden I had these strange dreams and like energy moving. I'm I need to feel it a little bit more before I believe it. And I started having like very, very vivid dreams and like experiences and energy moving through my body that I'd never felt before. And she goes, well, I'm getting closer to your traumas and also releasing anything stuck in your spine from childhood, from whatever. And she led me to a Reiki practitioner, which moves energy through the body. And they started moving energy, and I felt even more connected to this greater consciousness and the source energy. And the Reiki, so I'm like, well, what is this Reiki energy? So I took my Reiki masters and I started practicing Reiki, and that led me into sound. One of the people that I was practicing Reiki with had a sound bowl. I'm like, what is that? I was just instantly drawn in. Yeah. And I was like hooked. And then so I started diving into sound, and then sound led me to these gongs. I went to a gong bath, and like you guys were just saying, in 90 minutes of bliss, you're just like transported somewhere. I was literally transported. Like my first gong experience reminds me of like my first kiss. It was that profound and that deep. Wild. And ever since then, I've just been chasing that and diving deeper and deeper. And the sound gives my brain and many others just something to latch onto, and you can dive down and really get there, not effortlessly, but everyone has the opportunity to get to that transcendental state through sound. And then sound led me to all the medicine as well. Plant medicine was coming into my meditations and my aura of people that I'm talking to, and like, what is that? Where's that coming from? And I started listening to Terrence McKenna talking about plant medicine, and Alan Watts, and all these very profound philosophical speakers about the plant medicine. And so I started trying to seek it out, and I was trying to go to this place in Peru, and they would never let me book a ticket. And I'm like, all right, so I just surrendered to that, and then all of a sudden, these group of people in our community showed up, and the one girl was a shaman and affiliated with shaman in Bolivia, and said, we're going to take a group from here to the Island of the Sun in Lake Titicaca. This island's been closed to the public. It's like a very sacred island in Bolivia, in the Andes, like way up, like 13,000 feet. So we got 12 people together in our community, and we're meditating and gathering before we go, and we all went to Bolivia, up into the mountains with the shamans and sat with plant medicine, and that just opened up a whole new universe. It humbled me back to birth, and I came back a very different person. I'm still getting goosebumps for that, and that was close to a decade ago. And then I'm still integrating from that, and the sound came through with the plant medicine, and it just opened up such a beautiful world, and came back, and I'm driven to share and create environments for people to come together and communicate open-heartedly as humans, and it was such a gift to have that.
Absolutely.
And be part of that. In a nutshell.
No, you brought up several good points, and I find it fascinating that a lot of people that I find in this space, there has been some sort of hurdle that they've had to, like, whether you call it trauma, call it, people near-death experiences, call it just something to where you feel your back is against the wall, and you're seeking something. For me, it was alcohol. It was overcoming a lot of my demons with my alcohol issues, and like feeling like my back was against the wall. Because I grew up in the religious, in the Christian world, as going to church, and obviously I believe in God, but it's like in those I never felt it. I never knew how to seek it. I never knew what I was looking for. I never knew that he was all around us all the time, and that I can connect with him just by understanding myself and being, and there's so much. It's so deep. I want to continue to go. I want Logan to be able to ask a question, but I want to continue.
Good. I thought that was a great thought. Just because, like, I to tie all this in, like, feeling it. Like, I feel like I'm a lot like you, Rich, in a lot of ways, in terms of, like, in order for me to believe something, I need to feel it. It needs to be in my hand. I need to see it, because the rest of it just really doesn't matter to me. And so, like, I want to just go back to, I guess, when you're getting into this space, kind of as I am now, where, like, everything I see, I'm like, I gotta feel it. You have to, and that's why I'm so fascinated by this space, is like how deeply you can feel just by sound waves or listening to someone play these sacred instruments that have been around before people can even think of when time started. And so, like, in sum, I'm just curious as to, like, were you like me, like a guppy who just thought that I'm feeling something like I've never felt before in my life, and like so much that it gives me like this energy to wake up and go see if I can feel it differently the next day?
Absolutely. I still am a guppy. Every day I wake up, I'm like amazed, and I'm learning, meeting new people, new ways of experiencing things, and it never ends. Which is a beautiful thing. And well, back to what saying feeling, you learn through experience. You can read all the books, understand it conceptually, but until you feel it or experience it, it really you feel it on a cellular level, and it changes you from within, and it raises. I like to associate it to raising your vibration. Everything is frequency on the quantum field, and when we, get in alignment with that, then we're able to see that or feel that or experience that, and it has to be in the right set and setting is important. That's why
create the space.
You don't sit with plant medicine at the mall. It's set and setting. The experience will be what that's meant to be like that. It's like it's an intelligence, and when you create that environment, it really communicates with you in an intelligent way, over and over again. And all the countless people I've talked to that had very personal experience, but very similar. It's an intelligence. It's like you see the matrix, so you see the sacred geometry and everything. And once you see that, you look at it. You don't look at a tree or a person different any other way, because you've seen it.
A lot of people that I've had these conversations with would argue, well, why do you need to do plant medicine to reach that level? Why do you need sound healing to reach that level? Why do you need, these certain modalities to reach that level? And, why not just pray or whatever? And like the idea, like a lot of the answers that I came up with was like, a lot of people, okay, you want to become a better person. Yeah. Go meditate or go do yoga or but like a lot of people really don't have the understanding of really how to do it, how to meditate, one, but like you said, understanding it, how it's affecting you on a cellular level, in a sense. Okay, I get up and go for a walk every morning on the beach. It makes me feel great, cool. It starts my day good. I've done that for 20 years, but I don't have the understanding of why it makes me feel great. I'm just going out on the beach and walking on the beach. And I think that's the state of like, kind of like where we're at, in a sense of like, we do things but don't have the understanding of why we're doing certain things. It's just like the question that I used to ask, like, what are we doing here? Like,
walk around just like, why?
Yeah.
Like,
Start asking yourself the big questions like that, and then why. And the science has definitions for why plant medicine does this, why walking on the beach does that. It's like you're raising your vibration, you're connecting to nature.
right.
And when you tune into that frequency, you can't stay in plant medicine ceremony 24/7.
Right.
You get there, you listen to the radio station, the frequency, you get the downloads, and then you integrate it through the day. And it's a tool like drinking water. You're thirsty, you drink water. You want, clear your mind, go for a walk, go to the gym, whatever for you is good. And you start learning what makes you feel good in a positive, healthy way when you start asking yourself those big questions like, who am I? What makes me feel good? Why am I not feeling good? You don't always have to go to a plant medicine ceremony. It's not how many you do, it's what you bring back from it.
Absolutely.
And how you use that wisdom to better your lives and the lives of those around you.
Yeah.
And you just do that by changing, being the change in yourself. Your inner charisma starts to reflect and influence the world around you in amazing ways.
Absolutely.
Like magical ways. That's the best word to describe it. And that I can't explain, but I've seen it. It happens.
Integration has always been it's always been kind of a, what's the word? It's the adjective I'm looking for.
Fascinating.
Just fascinating experience. Yeah. Very fascinating from the moment you go to the airport right afterwards to like going back into, because again, you come back with these tools, right? And come back with this understanding of more clarity of yourself, more clarity of the world around you, more understanding of the world around you, understanding where to put your energy, where to have your intentions going with your energy. But the problems don't necessarily go away, right? Like, a lot of people, you go do plant medicine, you think you're probably, I've seen it happen, right? Like it's not the answers of everything, because the integration part is really when the work begins, right? Plant medicine is giving you the tools to have that understanding, but if you come back and you continue to do some of the same things, that is putting you into those negative loops, like it makes, and I've seen it, and honestly, like I wanted to ask you how many times have you sat with the medicine?
Sat with plant medicine over a decade, about 8 times.
8 times, and integration has always been different.
Still integrating,
right?
Yeah,
right,
and like
right.
you said, like from the moment, for me, it's like if I say I'm going to ceremony next month, it already starts. I can feel it.
Absolutely,
it's very bizarre. Like I sometimes purge. Like grandmother's working through me. I'm like, why am I feeling it? My body's preparing for it. I'm getting goosebumps. It's bizarre how it works. That's right. I'm like, why? Why am I feeling that way? Because it's the medicine in you, and it's like it's starting to change your vibration so you can do this work. And it's very, very, very amazing. It's such a gift. And I think back to the intelligence of plant medicine. I really think it's an intelligence like I don't know what you want. It's an intelligence that's reaching out to humanity now to help us integrate, to raise our vibration and realize what a gift our being is and each other is, and the potential we have. It's a female energy. It's a grandmother energy in it. But grandmas sometimes are very, it's amazing. It's
well, so I was just gonna to kind of go down that lane a little bit in terms of like I've walked around for 2 years societally with my understanding of the matrix through plant medicine, but as somebody who's been in it over a decade, can you talk to me kind of about what society looked like to you maybe when you came back on your first experience versus now you come back in 2024 and you see kind of what the world has made of itself and want to just get an idea of what that looks like to you?
There's Michelle and I, my wife, talk about this quite a bit, and there's kind of, how in time it's BC, AD, we're like pre-COVID, post-COVID. So the pre-COVID years, I sat with plant medicine, a good 5 years prior to that. Leading up was like almost like the 60s type movement, at least where we were. Like the yoga community just blew up. Our community, things were happening everywhere. Everyone was like coming out, and there's beautiful, huge gatherings. Everyone's meditating, doing yoga. The sound healing community just like blew up. And then COVID came and everyone like got locked down. We started doing virtual things. No one could meet, and we're still trying to communicate, and what we understood was, coming together in human connection is a medicine in itself. And when you gather together with intention to feel good about yourselves or others, there's a measurable, palatable thing that you feel. And, society is becoming more and more connected, but it's also becoming more and more disconnected. It's a strange balance in a thing that we're in right now, but I think it's moving in a positive light, a positive direction. Like you talk to anyone that's not in the meditation community or yoga community, they say something's going, time sped up, or I don't know what their analogy will, but something weird's going on in the
world. They know something. They see something.
Something's happening different.
Yes.
Yeah. And
absolutely.
Being aware, and we have the tools, we can help navigate that. Time is being sped up, or whatever we want to call it, but it's crescendoing to a beautiful thing. There's 7 billion people on the planet. We're all gathered here for some reason. Yeah. The universe is intelligent. Nature is intelligent. They don't make mistakes.
Absolutely.
So we're all here for a purpose and a reason, and it's each other.
Yeah.
Like we said, when we were isolated, it was difficult. Now it's important to come back.
That's an interesting concept that I never really even thought of. That was a great question, by the way. The idea of what it was a decade ago to sit with it and come back, and then, even now with the world that we're in, and, like you said, there's so much disconnection right now, but I also feel like there is so many people that like are in this, have this understanding, and are wanting to help others, and we are becoming together. Like, I mean, I'm manifesting it. My daughter's 7, like, Absolutely. And I'm trying to see how I can make the world a better place. And like a lot of things, I always thought trying to go buy this or go do that. And like, like it was make myself better. And if I can do that, then I can help the world around me. Essentially, like with the platform that we've been able to build with Luminate, and, we're trying to essentially help spread this message. And, this is real. And it's really deep too. Not to, like, it's deep.
Well, I was going to follow up that with, like, when you were a kid and you're growing up and you start to have these questions about, like, hey, why do I feel this way in, like, this certain situation? And, like, I know I don't have to do any of those things. Like, I guess where I'm trying to land is people who are like a heterodox thinker, where when everyone goes left, you go right, and when everyone goes right, you go left. I think about where we are. Like, I'm sitting with plant medicine now as a 30-year-old, and finally kind of coming into my own in terms of understanding myself. But is there a point where when you start to ask, like, none of this means anything to me anymore, and I would just figure out like what the end of the game looks like.
There is no end game.
Right.
It just keeps unfolding. And you got to keep looking more. I see what you're saying. Like some people get dead end. You know,
yeah.
Like I don't see any way out of this. And there's, and the way we're programmed from a young age in the schools, I'm not a dummy, but I didn't do great in school just because I was like, this stuff is not resonating with, from a young age. I was like questioning all this stuff, asking grew up in church as well. I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense. Why is this religion the same as this? But I'm always and always asking the bigger questions. I'm like, none of this makes sense, and I don't want to do any of that. And so it got me in a little bit of trouble in a way, but I'm like, now when I look back on it, I'm like, yeah, it's just questioning the reality itself and why I'm forced to do this if I, don't want to do that, and all the things. And, that was trauma in itself that I just learned that I was a little bit of a rebel, I guess. But also like the, what was it?
But like, don't you feel that was something that helped you in life? That like, yes, your lessons were like hard, but they were quick lessons. I felt because because in that moment you are taking the left instead of everyone going right. It's like, what is at that left door is the door, and then you either got to step through it or not. And like, I feel like that was something that sped up my entire process. Was like, okay, I'm growing up in this society. I'm walking around. Everyone's telling me all of these things I should be doing, and none of it is fun for me. Like, and I'm just thin to the point that I just want to say no to everything, which is like basically how I take my left instead of my right is like, no, I'm just not going to do it. And like, I guess that was where in my life stubbornness and things like that come from. But I also look at it now as something that worked in my favor. Cause like, to your point where like I would go into church and I'm like, I'm spending a lot of time here on Sunday, and I'm genuinely not listening to any of it because none of it is applying to like my day to day, where like I'm not genuinely feeling any better. Like I would, and everyone tells you go there and you're going to feel better. And like, and then that would happen and I'd be like, come out and be like, nope, I don't. And like, I don't. And then like, just in saying that, people are like, you're crazy. Like, is that crazy that I went into a building and I said, wow, didn't feel anything, and walked out of the building? Like, I don't think that's crazy. And I'll just like leave it there. But I like being in this space, it's like you can feel something. You finally feel better. You feel something. I can't sit here and explain it to you, but I can feel it. And I think that isn't crazy.
That's a beautiful analogy, way to look at it. I've done the same thing. Like when I go to church, the only reason I like to go there was to meet other people and talk to people, kind of like what we're doing on a heart-to-heart. The message wasn't so important to me as more the community. And that's, looking back and going here, it's like, that's why I'm always saying yes. Like, people are calling me up, can you do a sound healing at the FedEx building or whatever for the city hall? And I'm like, yes. I love bringing this modality to places that are like, people are like, what is that? And they, more times than not, they walk out to, what was that? They like had profound experiences in like 30 minutes or an hour. So you create an environment for people. We're human. We're wired to receive that. We're wired. You create an environment for them to like catch a breath and actually like expand their awareness. It's going to happen. Your body wants to do that. Your body wants to be efficient. Your consciousness wants to expand. Your heart wants to open. So that's the whole aim of why I do it, is to create that environment for just, and all you have to do is lay down. We're wired to have that happen.
Crazy.
That is crazy.
That's what happened to me. I'm like, since I experienced it that way, I'm like, I didn't do anything. I laid down and I like blasted out of my body. I'm like, how'd that happen? And I can't explain it scientifically, but it happened. more than once, and I talk to other people, and all right, well, I'm going to go with it. And science is starting to, describe what's going on in our bodies. I'm learning about that with seismatics and how sound waves interact with our cells and our organs and our energy field and the quantum field. And it's really amazing how science and spirituality and religion are all coming to this singularity. And it's just like an aha moment every day almost.
I want to ask you, because we probably have a lot of newer people in this space, in our community at least. And I wanted to ask you and I think I know the answer to how you're going to answer, but I wanted our audience to hear, what advice would you give somebody who is on the fence about this space of what we're doing? They see what we're doing, and they hear our conversations, and they're like someone like me who is sitting back like, I don't feel anything, but over there they trying to say like they're feeling something. So like, it looks like they're having a great time, enjoying the community together, smiling, laughing. But I know there's certain ceilings to certain people that like it won't allow them to step over that line. So I just wanted to hear, what advice would you give someone who is in that conflict like I was at one point in my life?
I like to keep it as simple and as pure as possible. It's not a religion. It's not a philosophy. It's not a movement. You just come and lay down and receive, and you're going to feel better. And you've already asked the question, like, you're looking at them like, I want what they're having. Just come and lay down and receive. Even if you're practicing yoga, like I'm not a yoga yogi like my wife. I go and sometimes I just sit there, and breathe with the class. You don't have to do all these handstands and movements. The whole purpose of yoga is to get into corpse pose, the yoga nidra. And there's many philosophies of why we do all the poses. It's to like loosen up our body, to open our heart and our consciousness to receive the divine messages when you're in shavasana. And the sound healing is like a 90-minute shavasana with, so just come. If you want to feel good, just come as you are with an open mind, open heart. It's not easy. And that's like, I was like surprised. I'm like, what is this? It's so easy. And then, when you're sitting in ceremony, you get a million questions answered in a second. Like, okay, now what? And all these big, deep questions. You don't always remember them, but we overthink things. That's our nature. We get that little itty bitty shitty committee in our head, grinding us down all the time, and it gets the best of us. And I get that same thing, like, who am I? What am I? I get down on myself sometimes, but I catch myself more often than not after practicing. So when I'm driving and people are cutting me off, and my wife says, honk the horn. I'm like, whatever. We're getting there. Catch up to them at the next red light. Things don't bother me like they used to. Yeah. So I've noticed that about myself. Like, just take a breath. I don't let things walk over me, but I don't let things bug me like they used to. And more often than not, things work out more amazing than I could ever imagine. Like meeting up with you guys, I meet so many amazing people it's just like a magical. Magic is the best word I can explain. And the movement like you guys are doing is going to bring a whole different, archetype of people, which is amazing. And the more people we do, it just ripples out.
That was one of the points you made. I wanted to just touch again on it because, like, I always looked at yoga as something that I was like, that's silly. Like, I'll just go lift weights or whatever, do something else. And as I've gotten later in life, I play more golf, and my back doesn't respond like it used to. And so, like, I've gotten into yoga, and to your point, the connotation, there's this invisible connotation I feel around it, or people who are my age around yoga, and it's like, well, I've never done it, and so I'm going to go in there and make a fool of myself. And it's like, that's part of the game, is like, who cares? You go into yoga and your practice isn't great, It's the same way as to when you played baseball as a kid, where it's like you don't show up to the first day of baseball practice and you're the best player. It's just not how it works. And like, I don't know why I had never figured to apply that to yoga, but it's exactly the same, where you go to 5 classes and now a new person comes in and now you're not the worst person in the class anymore. And your brain goes like, oh, I'm pretty good. And then you go to more classes and then you're like, and you become better because you just keep going and working at it and getting better at it. And it's this big, massive metaphor for, I feel like, a lot of what life is. But like, when you got into yoga, was it kind of that way? Like your friends are like, Rich, like yoga?
I started going on my own. I was training swimming and doing triathlons, and like I needed something to do on my off days, so I heard yoga was good. This was back in the early 90s. So I started doing yoga, and I'm like, this is nice. It felt more like a stretching thing, and it started moving things. But then I started learning that the bulk of the yoga practice is not on the mat. It's off the mat in your daily life, and how you apply the philosophies you learn on the yoga mat in your life. Yeah. Yoga is just like a small part of it. And again, it's to get to that transcendental state of shavasana. But yoga has been so commercialized, and it's far off of the traditional path, and what it's become like a trend, so to speak, and competition. And so my wife and I go back and forth on this, and it's beautiful to see all these yoga things drawing all these different people into it, because it leads them deeper. So you go to like a power yoga class, for example. You know, oh, this is great. It's like an aerobic class. You come out all sweaty, and they're like, all right, I felt good, and started moving energy. And then you go to like a Raja class where you start learning philosophy, and it's all on the ground, and you start going deeper and deeper. So it opens a door to go down that path, which is a beautiful thing. And just like all the different avenues where you can take sound. You can take sound into the corporate, you can take sound to the sports, take sound to the, doesn't have to be in a yoga studio, outside, inside, all walks of life. Kids, animals, plants, they all react to it in a profound way. So that's what I like, the universal part of sound. It transcends languages. I could have people in the room, 50 people all speaking different languages, still going to have a beautiful experience, because it's a universal language. It's a universe, the language of the universe, that and energy and, you know, our heart and our vibration.
Speaking of 50 people and sound, Divine Wave Sound, Rich will be at our event November 18th in Fort Lauderdale at the Freedom House.
Freedom House FTL, Fort Lauderdale.
Oh, it's going to be a beautiful day, beautiful evening, actually, from 6:30 to 10:30. You can sign up online at our website, luminate.me. We're really excited to have you, and thank you so much, Rich, for being here today, for joining us. It was truly first guest.
Very honored, very honored to be with you, brothers, and the work you're doing. I resonate deeply with it. So
absolutely,
thank you for opening your heart and mind and creating this movement. It's only going to blossom.
Only going to blossom. We're excited to continue to work. So be sure you sign up to our event November 18th. It is a Monday night. So luminate.me. And until next time on You Are the Medicine, I'm your host, Jordan. Logan. Rich.
Thank you, Rich.
Peace, love, and light.
Brothers.
Thank you.